Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. 'Cause fans on the sport, it's always coming through. And all green is always on the scene. And we're gonna always bring it to the live streaming. So get ready, get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, welcome aboard, everybody. The Man-Child Jim Lurch, along with Paul Boy Green Esden Jr. It's the Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital, another episode. This one focused on New York sports, in particular, my Giants. And we'll get to the Jets a little bit, too. But there are big happenings in New York with this Giants coaching search. Not only is now John Harbaugh on the market, but maybe Mike Tomlin's on the market. I mean, he's out of Pittsburgh. Now the question is he truly on the market? Well, let's break it all down, talk all about it with WFAN radio personality Danielle McCarthy, who joins us. What's up, Danielle? How are you?
One hell of an intro, man. All these things that I've done, that was a cool intro to this show, I tell you.
Well, that's awesome. Well, good to be. Thanks for coming aboard with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
So let's start with the Giants, and then we can kind of work our way in. Sorry, Paul. I want to start with the most breaking news, which is this Mike Tomlin story, because this broke today, and this is a big story in terms of another quality coach out there, and something that the Giants, I think, are looking for. They are looking for stability. It has been an unstable environment, I should say, in New York for a bunch of coaching cycles here now, and it's time for the Giants to lay down the rock here and get somebody who's going to be around for a while. And certainly either one of these two guys would be interesting. Give me your immediate thoughts on Tomlin, his leaving Pittsburgh, and is there any chance the Giants could still swing and crack a single in between the hole here to maybe to convince Mike Tomlin that New York would be the perfect place for him to come from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, right? First of all, Tomlin, it kills me that Pittsburgh Steelers fans complain that all he does is just make the playoffs. Okay, but like,
right.
Talk to somebody around here and tell them that, and they'd be like, yes, bing, let's get him. I do see the thing. You mentioned the instability with the Giants, and I talked about it the last time I was on the fan, is they have to, and we'll talk names in a second, but they have to go after a coach, in my opinion, that is not that, that hot shot coordinator, defensive or offensive, and include the Jets in that too. How many people have been coordinators on the defensive or the offensive side of the ball and not worked out in this particular city? It could work somewhere else. It can work in Chicago. It doesn't recently seem to work here. That said, the Giants have the perfect opportunity to go out and get themselves a man. One day we'll say woman, but a man that has coached head coached at the NFL level. That is extremely important for me in this coaching search. You got your pick of, is it Harbaugh? Is it McCarthy? Is it Tomlin? I don't know. For me, I don't know if he would want to jump right back into this. I don't know him. I've never met him, but to me, I'm looking at this like, okay, maybe he wants to take a year off. Maybe he wants to, we've seen it before where these guys reinvigorate themselves and whatever, and maybe ends up in a broadcast booth and comes back after a year or two. But I don't think that man is done coaching by any means. I'm kind of right. There's a lot to talk about here, but I just don't know if Mike Tomlin would jump right back into another job right away.
If he did, would he be a good fit for New York?
I think so. I mean, there's a difference between being tough with the media and being like Aaron Glenn with the media. And we'll talk about him, but he's rude for no reason. Like he talks like his, doesn't stink for no reason. But Tomlin is respectful and professional in that manner. And he can certainly handle the New York media, no doubt about it. He kind of brings that work pail lunch, whatever. I never get
lunch pail. Yeah, the lunch pail.
Yeah.
That kind of mentality to this team. He brings instant credibility, you said the word stability to this team. If I were the Giants and I were Joe Schoen, he has to do his job to call, at least make the phone call. And so that's his due diligence. So I would love Mike Tomlin to coach either of the two teams here in New York, but specifically the Giants, because their job is open. I think it's a great fit.
All right, Danielle, give us your wish list. Who's revving your engine? If it was your choice, you're the GM, you're picking it, and Joe Shane's still here for now, and he's picking that head coach. Who is it? Who is the guy? There's a lot of big name fish in this water for the Giants to be fishing in.
Yeah. Well, first, I mean, you said for now. I mean, look, if they wouldn't have gotten this far, if they were going to dump him at this point in time, so he's in it. They wouldn't let him sit in on, and I wouldn't let him sit in on any of these interviews if I had plans to dump him, not long from now. So, I think he gets a kind of a bad rap. I mean, my top two, I mean, I don't know about Tomlin. I mean, I don't know, but
Right.
okay. But Harbaugh, yes. And I think Mike McCarthy's getting kind of like a bad rap around here. I like his progression, his career progression. I mean, you always, because I mean, start at the bottom, right? And you grind your way through it. And you guys know a lot about that. So I appreciate those types of people. Wide receivers coach, quarterbacks coach, Coach Favre in the beginning. I mean, won a Super Bowl with Rodgers, offensive coordinator. I mean, he has checked all of the boxes working all the way up. I know it didn't work great in Dallas, his last stop, but I'd be interested to see what he would want to do with my offense if I'm sitting in that room and say, okay, we got Jackson Dart. How do you plan to develop him? Cam Scatterbo, how do you plan to incorporate him? And we've got Malik Neighbors. What would an offensive game plan look like with this particular team? And I also like the head coaches that are more CEO type. Okay, I'm the CEO, and then I'm going to employ two very capable offensive coordinators to go with me. So I think Mike McCarthy and John Harbaugh are those guys, and they're no nonsense, and they've done it, been there, done that. I think those are, for me, the front runners. I know there's the hot names like Kubiak and Gray, and Antonio Pierce didn't go so great in Vegas. I think he'd be a great defensive coordinator here for the Giants. But yeah, I'm looking for someone who's been there and done that and have had success with it. And those two guys have to be 1 and 2 for me.
Talking with Danielle McCarthy, WFAN Radio. It's the Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button and join our growing community of viewers. Today's broadcast, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. We'll hear from them in just a little bit. Danielle, I want to talk more about Harbaugh, but since you brought up McCarthy, let's go there first. Here's the problem that I have with McCarthy. I agree with you. He has a terrific pedigree. He's won a Super Bowl too. We keep saying, well, the guy wins a Super Bowl. Stefanski's being talked about. He hasn't won any Super Bowls. This guy's won a Super Bowl. He has a winning track record. I think part of the problem for the Giants faithful, and I do think part of this hire is actually appeasing the fan base as well as the team. And that is, it's the old Dallas leftovers thing. I mean, it's just kind of ugly. I mean, I'm like any Giant fan, Danielle. I hate the Cowboys, and I don't want anything that's a Cowboy retread on my thing unless it's Tom Landry coming back from the grave.
I know, and but that's a fandom thing, right? What if you spun it around and looked at it this way? This guy has worked with a lot of the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, that's still on that roster. What if you looked at it and said, well, we can use that to our advantage if we're the Giants? He knows these players in and out. He knows their ticks and what works and what doesn't work. And let's exploit that. Maybe that perspective is the one.
Well, I think if they want to hire him, all they got to do is bring some silk pajamas and invite him to stay overnight, and he'll take the job. That's where I think that thing's going. All right, go ahead, Boy Green. Fire up the next question.
And hey, if the Giants did do that, that wouldn't be the first time. They brought Jason Garrett in. Now, it wasn't as a head coach, of course, but they brought him on the staff before, so that's certainly in the conversation. So let's go over to Harbaugh Bowl. Everyone's trying to get John Harbaugh. Again, he's got the credibility. He has the Super Bowl ring, and he has all the winning. He has a 600+ winning percentage. But what's the concern here? No one talks about this, Danielle, and it's this. How it ended. There's been some ugly reporting on the locker room tension, players not wanting to play for him. So on the outside, the Giants don't have to deal with any of that because they weren't in there with Harbaugh as all it was ugly. They're just seeing the pretty stuff. Ooh, Harbaugh's the hottest name. Everyone wants him. The Super Bowl ring, the winning. And again, in his 18 seasons, 11 of the 18, he had double-digit winning seasons. So, he has all kinds of credentials. But are you concerned at all with how it ended? And it ended apparently very ugly in Baltimore.
I don't know. No, I'm not. Because, well, the one thing that in his resume, the whole I see, I know he's worked with the Philadelphia Eagles for a long, long time. but that was as a special teams coordinator. So like I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, where did he specifically work one-on-one with a quarterback to develop a quarterback? I don't see that in his resume. So but you look at him and then you look at Lamar Jackson, and I'm sure there was some tension there. I'm sure there was. Lamar, was he hurt this season? Like, we still don't know the story behind Lamar Jackson. But for me, I mean, look, ending a job and moving somewhere else, it doesn't alarm me that it ended, or else he would still be there, right? It's not like an amicable divorce, like the Mike Tomlin thing. Who knows, So oftentimes it ends not great. So, I mean, it worked for a long time with those players, and then maybe it's the new contract of Lamar Jackson. He negotiates for himself, and maybe that's not the right thing. And there's all these intricacies that all of us on the outside don't exactly know. So if I were the Giants and I brought this guy in my building for an interview, of course I'd ask him about it. I would, go very next triple levels deep about it. The explanation behind it. I'd check out I would ask other people in that building if I could, to get a different perspective, because there's always three sides to a story: mine, yours, and the truth. So I would try to get as much information as possible. But to me, it wouldn't scare me, because if it was amicable and it was nice and fluffy and flowers, then he'd still be there. So it wouldn't bother me.
Speaking of breakups, real quick, so I don't know, like, this is being championed in the streets, which seems very nice, but it's also sort of weird. All right. So the Giants broke up with Brian Dable. He's an ex-girlfriend. He's out in the streets. It's over. We're fired in the middle of the season. It's not pretty. But apparently, according to Ian O'Connor, does a lot of work for The Athletic, Brian Dable called John Harbaugh. So the ex-girlfriend called the maybe girlfriend and said, hey, you should go to the Giants. It's great. Jackson Darter, you're going to love it. And if I'm the Harbaugh, I'm like, what the? Like, you're an ex-girlfriend. Now you're trying to get me to get with your old man. What the hell is going on here? So is that good? Is that bad? Is that weird? What? How do you see all that? That was from Ian O'Connor there.
I heard that Tom Coughlin made a call. I'm good with that. I don't know if I feel so good about this. I hadn't heard about this report.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing about it too. I mean, Ian O'Connor is good, so I trust it. Now, maybe he's looking for a job as an offensive coordinator back with the Giants. I mean, I know he has many young kids in the area here. Where he lives is a nice town. Maybe he doesn't want to move. We have great schools where we are. Maybe he wants an offensive coordinator job. Maybe he wants a quarterback's coach job. He did pick Jackson Dart. He finally got to pick his quarterback and was fired unceremoniously with the toughest schedule in the National Football League this year. Maybe he's talking him up because John Harbaugh, it's a good spot. I mean, he's being truthful. To me, it strikes me as being a truthful conversation. And there's the tweet there. Look, I buy it. I think maybe he's looking for a job back on somewhere on Harbaugh's staff if he ends up with the Giants. Especially, look at it. There's this friendship with Jackson Dart. He finally picked him. He loves him, and let him see it out.
One of the things I like about Harbaugh, Danielle, is the fact that he's not labeled an offensive or a defensive guy because, as you mentioned earlier, he was a special teams guy before he became a head coach, and now he's just been a head coach. So we just call him coach. We don't look at him as he's good at this thing and good at that thing. He just seems to be a good at all things. What do you think makes him potentially a good fit for New York?
I just think his demeanor. I mean, you look at the guy and you're like, all right, this guy means business. He expects greatness and means business just by looking at him. And I think that if you are, a special teams guy, you're not one side of the ball or the other, and you've been in the league as long as he has, you've got some nice network and nice connections that you could set yourself up with the best of the best available offensive coordinator, with the best of the best a defensive coordinator available. So I told you, I love the CEO type. I don't know. I like it. I like the idea of a guy coming in here and outfitting his staff with the best possible staff. So I don't know.
Yeah, and just jumping over, I'm sort of with Danielle here. So you mentioned Lurch, the CEO. I sort of love that he's a coach of everything. But really, when you look at the resume, he's a jack of all trades but master of none. So he's not an offensive coordinator. He's not a defensive coordinator. Okay, he's got the special teams on lock. Yippee! But what the hell? So that means, to Danielle's point, he better have all those connections over his 18 years as the head coach to have some strong supporting staff with a strong offensive coordinator and strong defensive coordinator. Because if that support staff is lesser, I've got some major questions about this Harbaugh guy who, okay, he won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. Okay, they had some success with Lamar Jackson. Can he do it with Jackson Dart? What's the infrastructure for development? Unless, again, Dable try to work his way into a job. Very nice. Eli Manning, that makes sense. Okay, Giants legend. Come on, Harbaugh, come on over. Okay, direct correlation. That makes sense. But all of a sudden, Dable, still a little cringy, a little weird going on there, but still, that's the question. That's the red flag there. He's again, what is his specialty? He has a specialty of nothing. No offense, no defense. Special teams? Come on, man.
I mean, it could be a specialty in leading men, and the Giants have had a bunch of coaches in the past that haven't really been leaders of men, motivators, or set winning cultures. Even though they've all tried, they just haven't done it. Maybe this is the guy that can do it, and utilize leveraging his connections. Maybe he could outfit his support staff, as you said, and most important, the quarterback development program that he has in mind, hopefully.
And let me throw a random one out here because, Danielle, you mentioned it earlier, right? A leader of men, and that's all great. But when will we get I was going to say leader of women, but that doesn't make any sense. A woman leader. When are we going to get? When is that going to be broken in your mind? Because I thought forever in the NBA, I thought when Popovich hung up the whistle, it was going to Becky Hammon. And then that went in a completely different direction. That never ended up happening because of all kinds of different twists. So we didn't see that at the NBA level. But whether it's NBA or NFL, when do you believe we finally get a female head coach? And so that gets broken for the first time in a trailblazing sense. And then maybe that could just start something where it's commonplace, where it's no longer this. We're even having it as a topic on the show, that it's just sort of accepted. How far away were you from that, Danielle?
I don't know. I just hope it happens in our lifetimes, because you can't just pluck somebody and put them in a job. Like, the pipelines are not strong for female coaches. And I know they exist. They're not strong. Look around the league. How many assistant coaches are female? Not many. And I agree with you. I thought Popovich to Hammond was the next thing. I thought it was. Disappointed that it wasn't. Disappointed that she didn't get a good look at the Knicks job either, also when that was open. I just don't feel that the pipelines are strong enough. They exist. Like I said, they have women's empowerment lunches at Super Bowl week, and that's great and all that. But until you start putting women in the forefront, it's not going to happen. Like, that's why, I mean, look, my secondary team out of these teams here that we talk about is the Colts. You want to know why? Because look at that owner. She's awesome, man.
Yeah.
She is doing it, and she is doing it in a fantastic way. So hopefully, that encourages others around the league to kind of take that step. And I don't know. Hopefully it's in our lifetime. I hope I see it.
Talking with Danielle McCarthy, WFAN Radio in New York, all things Giants. We're going to get into the Jets and Aaron Glenn a little bit in this conversation as well. Tonight's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive, integrity and everything. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends from Bayberry.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family, a family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
All right, we are back. Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button, become part of our growing community as we talk with Danielle McCarthy of WFAN in New York. There's our YouTube link. You want to throw that back up, Paul? I know you saw pull it in there quickly. YouTube.com/@MC Show Digital. That's where you go to subscribe as we continue to grow our little community. All right, Danielle.
Hey, actually, real quick, just because we're carrying over in the conversation, and Danielle, I thought you brought up a beautiful point about it. If we're ever going to get women head coaches in across the sports, it's the pipeline. If the pipeline isn't there, then it's just never going to happen because, right, I can't get the experience without the job. I need the job with the experience. So to have the pipeline where all of a sudden we have female defensive coordinators, female offensive coordinators, because that's the pool of which we're typically drawing for head coaches from an NFL perspective here, but it could go the same in other sports. That's where it's plucked. If there's no women there, how would they ever get the opportunity? We're just going to forever be talking about this as a ancillary topic on a greater show. So again, just wanted to throw that out there. That again, I think you nailed it. I think it's 100% of the pipeline. So until we bust that through and break that through in the sports world, I think that's, we're going to constantly be in this flux.
And how do you do it? You have to have, they're all men. You have to have a man in charge that is willing to do it. I mean, you saw what Taylor Swift did. For hater or lover, you saw what she did in terms of numbers and viewership for the sport. Can you imagine? I mean, I like the Colts because of Carly Ursay Gordon, however you say the name, Ursay. And so I just think that people in power in these boardrooms need to understand that, okay, hire me, particularly for the job, and I can bring with me a whole new audience of people that inherently that would, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wish people would notice that and become more of an ally to support that. And that's the only way it's going to get done, because if you keep it the boys club, it's always going to be the boys club.
Yeah, and tip of the cap.
I was going to say, you need that Branch Rickey, who changed obviously baseball with the color bar and was brave enough to stand up against other owners and the commissioner of baseball and other people who he knew were going to rip him. But obviously when it broke through, it really broke through. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And I was just going to say, and before we go to wherever else this conversation is going to go, again, shout out to Bruce Arians. He's now retired. But when he was on Tampa Bay, he had multiple full-time women on his staff, and he was a trailblazer. No other team had the amount of women that he had on his staff, which, again, presented opportunity. He made them, of course, earn all their opportunities once you get it. But he opened up the door, and for so many women, it's so difficult. If the door's not even open, how do you bust in? So for the door to open, Bruce Arians did a marvelous job. Unfortunately, he's no longer the head coach down there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's in a sort of angel front office position with them now. But again, we just need more, again, as Danielle said earlier, allies in the conversation.
I'm living it. Believe me, I'm living it.
Right. Yeah.
And another name that was mentioned to me.
Sure you are.
Yeah. In addition to Arians, another name that was mentioned to me by a very trusted woman is Mike Vrabel is another one, a good one.
Proponent. That's great.
Absolutely.
All right, let's continue down this little coaching trail before we move over to the Jets. Kevin Stefanski, you didn't mention his name on your list. What is it about him that perhaps you don't like? What is it perhaps that you do like about Kevin Stefanski as potentially the next head coach of the Giants?
Not against him. I just think that, I mean, he was at the top of my list, and then Harbaugh came available, and then there might be a Tomlin sighting, and then, he, you know what I'm saying? Like he was. I did a thing with New York Post 2 weeks ago, and I was like, Kevin Stefanski's the guy.
Yeah.
The next day it was like, Harbaugh's available. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
I just did a list earlier today in a video, and he's number 3 on my list behind those two guys.
Exactly right. So I mean, he's got again, quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator. I like his progression. So I just think that Harbaugh is the belle of the ball, and if you don't come away with Harbaugh, Stefanski would be a nice consolation prize. I think he was severely handcuffed in Cleveland with who they had to pick in the draft, at where, and who did he have to play and when. So I would like to give him a fresh start with a quarterback that he knows can do it.
Well, freakishly, there are 9 jobs available right now. Now, one of them is Baltimore, so Harbaugh's not going back to Baltimore. So that leaves 8. Yeah. We've heard some rumblings that he's going to try and bring his list down to a smaller list that hopefully will include the Giants. But how important is this, Danielle, for Joe Shane's survival here? The fans are going to come with the pitches and the torches and the pitchforks, I should say, all right, to his house if he doesn't land Harbaugh now, unless Harbaugh comes out and says he didn't want to go to New York. He had strong reasons. There was nothing Joe Shane could have done to convince him. Otherwise, Shane's going to become the scapegoat for us not getting Harbaugh, because Harbaugh is basically at the top of 90% of people's lists.
Yeah. And lives in the same town as Brian Daboll, by the way, here in New Jersey, and not far from each other. I could see the pitchforks coming out. I mean, but I think Harbaugh, if he doesn't end up with the Giants, I do think he's professional enough to say what you just said. There's nothing more he could have. So. Yeah, I've studied the tape. I've studied the tape of Jackson Dart and Cam Ward. I just think I could work more with Cam. Whatever it is, he's got to come out and say something along the lines of there was nothing more they could have done, and I think people would be okay with that. But he's got to hit on this. Joe Shane has to hit on this next head coach, or he's out the door. Definitely.
Let me throw this in. This is an ESPN prediction. They put this out this morning saying, all right, here's all the openings, although they have to add.
Is this that Dan Graziano piece?
I
think
believe
it is.
so.
I read it and I was
Okay.
fuming after I read it because
okay.
the
Well.
Giants were like the 6th team listed on the list, and we ended up with Hafley, the defensive
Oh, it
coordinator
was.
at Green Bay, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you
No.
kidding me? New York is not ending up with Hafley." Dan,
No.
I'm sorry. I love you to death. I know you covered the Giants for a while. That is a bad take. That is not happening. New York will not let that happen. No
Yeah.
bleeping way.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I totally disagree with that prediction.
Yep, I was just about to say that is it. That Jeff Hafley would end up there, and according to Dan Graziano sources, Hafley's been "quote unquote" high on the Giants list for a while, according to what he's been told. Obviously, the former Boston College coach. I think he has a lot of New Jersey connections too. So, but that goes against Danielle's rules. We were talking about it earlier. We're looking at the dating profile here. Like, wait a second, let me take another look through this thing here. And Hafley is just again the sexy coordinator is basically the resume. So,
yeah. Can't go that way again. It just can't happen.
Could you at all? This is a difficult one. Could you at all live with Anarumo? He's the Staten Island guy. He's 59 now. I mean, and he hasn't even had a swing at the plate. Coming in terms of being a head coach. Like, I don't want him to be the guy, but I think I probably could live with him being a guy if they end up picking an OC or a DC. And he's obviously a defensive guy, which I think the Giants are leaning.
I know. I just think, what would he be? The 5th consolation prize? I don't like.
He really would be. Yeah.
I don't like the defensive background. I know you feel like they need it, but the NFL is increasingly an offensive league. I think if you get a good defensive coordinator, I think you're fine. I don't think you need to be a defensive guy. It'd be interesting to see eventually, even extrapolate out to the past, maybe Super Bowls of the past 5 years, how many of those head coaches are offensive or defensive. I think that'd be a pretty good, maybe a big, good segment for the both of us moving forward, just to see.